rejoice for buffs coming to corruption effects, and cry because some of them are getting nerfed, and if you are already fed up with BFA, then rejoice again as the Shadowlands beta is approaching with new info out of the Blizzard's earnings call, and while Shadowlands being implemented on Twitch, all this plus more in On Cooldown, the weekly WoW news show that may talk about Warcraft 3 also, just a bit.
Corruption system. How he made my Blood Decay tank to do so much damage that people forget the fact that I'm squishier than a Havoc Demon Hunter. Yes, more changes are coming to the effects themselves because, as we have seen so far, Blizz just wasn't ready for the amount of damage the big effects were doing in comparison to the actual HP of raid bosses, players in arenas, and Mythic Plus mobs. You know what? Screw Mythic Plus Awakened Affix Lieutenants. Those bastards hit me for 70% of my HP, and if they can truck me so hard, I want to smash their faces just as hard. Echoing Void will have its damage reduced by 50% overall, and this is a big nerf, but compared to the other corruptions, it feels okay still. We will have to see in the end how it functions. Also in PvP, it won't do reduced damage anymore outside the intended 50% that will be applied. The stack corruptions and effect procs will be buffed quite generously, on paper at least, and all of these will take effect next reset as mentioned in a more recent blue post to let players and world first raiders accommodate and prepare for the next reset. To also address the issue that a lot of guilds reach N'Zoth now, but the corruptions are still imbalanced, Blizz announced they will make changes to this particular fight. So enjoy the rest of the week, ladies and gents, because come reset, shit's about to change. Now for Limit though, congratulations on the world first, boys, woo! But let's be honest here for a second. All that corruptions do is provide you with a big ass DPS increase, and in the case of most of them, you don't have much control over how that happens anyway. Maybe a little control, but it's not an essence you can press and have it work when you want to. It is still weird having corruptions deal more damage than your actual skills buttons that you press, but I don't think I mind that too much. From the base concept of the system, it's supposed to be crazy and infuse you with ridiculous power, and really, after all we've been through in BFA, a little player power craziness is good to take the edge off. The main issue here is that the 8.3 content does not accommodate the amount of damage we do, or at least it doesn't scale accordingly, as we have seen from the race to world first, where 11 out of the 12 bosses were killed in, what, 2 to 3 days? Maybe another big issue is that the effects are not balanced among each other, and this poses issue mostly to healers who cannot take as much advantage from the system since the damage proc corruptions don't work as well for them, and the stat ones are very underwhelming. With the recent post about the nerfs and buffs the devs made, the system sounds like it could perform a bit better across the board and not make players feel cornered into echoing voids and echoing voids and echoing voids and echoing voids. It's still very early in the patch, and personally I find the system still more interesting than the Titan forging mechanic. But what do you think? Hit the comment, yo.
Alright, no more scripts, we're going exactly into the Activision Blizzard earnings call. Not dabbling too much on it, but there is something interesting to note from there. We're not looking at the numbers and the millions and billions they got, of course, not the monthly active users, nothing like that, but there are some interesting things to look on. First off, the Shadowlands expansion, which is being slated to launch after mid-2020. What does this mean? Well, it doesn't mean jack shit, to be honest. I mean, I'm still retaining my predictions that the expansion will launch at earliest in September and at latest somewhere in mid-October. But this does solidify the fact that Shadowlands Alpha, because you have to remember, when we're talking about Shadowlands Beta or Alpha, the first thing that will come out for testing is the Alpha for friends and family, which doesn't mean us. I don't think so, after all the Ian bashing, I don't know. Anyways, the first will be the Alpha for family and friends, and granted, some privileged people will be able to test out the early stages of the expansion, which will be probably more than we saw at BlizzCon. I mean, at BlizzCon, we basically saw BFA placed into a bit of Shadowland zone, you know, nothing special, and a little bit of the Covenant abilities or something. Either way, it was weak, you all know that. But the most important thing is, if they have stated in the earnings call that this game will launch after the mid of 2020, then you can be sure that at the earliest, the beta, the public beta will come out probably mid-March, that's the earliest, and at the latest somewhere in May. Beginning of May or mid-May. Now, what does this mean? Well, first of all, it should mean that in comparison to BFA, these motherfuckers should be focusing on what the players will feed back towards the beta. This has happened in BFA, and I'm referring to players providing feedback, especially on the goddamn Azerite system, okay? But they didn't listen, or they did listen, but they didn't have enough resources or time to fix it, so they started developing this system. That's a whole nother talk. But I think it's really good news if we get the beta so early on. I mean, I'm talking here March, that's basically next month, because at that point, most of you, and probably me, will be fed up with 8.3. Granted, we're still progressing through the Nyalotha raid, and we still have shit to do for the season in Mythic Plus and Arenas, that's all fine and dandy, but we all know how this tends to unfoil moving further down the line. So a beta to test out for Shadowlands would be great, because essentially we would understand how much they understood about player feedback. We need to test the shit out of this, we need to test the new leveling experience, which should be awesome, but more importantly, we need to test how the unpruning will work, how much of the abilities and talents will go into the new expansion, do we get any new abilities, new talents, how the classes will work, because remember, BFA had shit class design, at least at the beginning. I'm not saying it's perfect now, it's better, but you have to remember when BFA launched how fucked up everything felt. Adding on top of that, that stupid GCD system, man, why the fuck would you add that on? Man, I still cannot explain it, you know. But we can rant on about PvP vendors and such and all that, it's all good. Focusing on the main objective here, if the beta will drop in March or May, then that will be perfect timing for the content drought that will start to kick in after 8.3. And don't get me wrong, we're enjoying 8.3 so far, with all its backlash regarding the end cinematic with N'Zoth and all of that. It's still proper content to play. I know it's grindy in some aspects, but hey, it's an MMO, it should be grindy for some aspects. I'm loving the fact that, you know, there's now actual daily quests to do rather than world quests all the goddamn time. It's fine. With that being said, there's one more thing that will point out to this. If you go ahead now and look up on the Twitch categories for games, you will find World of Warcraft Shadowlands. Now, this does happen when the actual game publisher or game developer, whatever, Blizzard, gets in contact with somebody from Twitch and they want to update this. If they do that, and if they did that, and they did, obviously, because look at it, it's there, wow, Shadowlands, that means something is getting closer and closer. Now, I don't know if the alpha for family and friends will be under an NDA or something like that, implying that they will not have any public footage to show or stream. But if it's already in an agreement between Blizzard and Twitch for those Shadowlands to appear as a category, then you can bet your sweet little tushy it's coming really soon. Maybe even sooner than I can predict. But hey, would you be excited for the Shadowlands beta? I mean, first of all, you have to be, you know, invited to the beta. You know, that's another discussion, which will probably cause a lot of outrage as well. But okay, just to make things clear here, make sure to go into your Battle.net account and go into the beta section or whatever and have, you know, World of Warcraft checked there, and you'll be fine and dandy. At least you'll get a better chance to get into the beta. The main question is here, if you're going to get into the beta, are you going to feedback the fuck out of them, or are you just going to enjoy it and, you know, do nothing? It's really important, man, because at the end of the day, we need to feedback the shit out of them to make Shadowlands a great expansion, following the same pattern, you know, Warlords, Legion, BFA, next one. So, with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. Love ya.
And in today's comment of the day, we have Souls as Static, and he said, "You guys are awesome. Fuck any haters talking shit about your comedy. You're some of the most legit positive all content out there." Hey man, you know, I'm kind of positive. I gotta say so myself, man.
Man, that actually touched me in all the right places, man.
Man, I'm good. I'm brilliant. I'm a superstar, man.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like super positive, man. Shit. Fuck you and has a coasters, but you know, we're good, bro.
I'm not crying myself to sleep anymore.
It's fuck it.
If you haven't heard it yet, Warcraft... Fuck it, man. You heard, everyone heard, my dad heard, and he calls the game Warcraft 2. God damn it, Blizzard. How is it even possible to fuck this up after such a great StarCraft Brutal remaster? Man, Marcelian sure did say it right a while ago. They're making 1 step forward and 5 steps back. If you haven't heard, Warcraft 3 Reforged released recently and it came out a far cry from what was advertised at BlizzCon 2018. The cinematics were not delivered as promised and they actually were made to seem as one of the major features of the game. The menu seems very cheap and done last minute. The cutscenes, Jesus! There's this one cutscene with Thrall and Medivh right at the beginning where the background is a 240 pixel JPEG. I mean, come on man, you can't fuck around with Warcraft 3. Not now, not after the Diablo Immortal, Battle for Azeroth, X and Y debacles Blizzard has had over the last year. It was supposed to be such an easy win for Blizzard. Take all of that and add it on top of the steamy pile of garbage that is the custom game updates where, get this, Blizzard owns 100% of the rights to any custom games created because they are salty. They lost Dota to Valve after it was pitched to them first. The clause in the terms of service is incredibly appalling and frightening at the same time, where you have to waive 100% of the moral rights, legal rights, and all other type of rights for your own creation to Blizzard without any remuneration. And the icing on the cake is that they released a public statement on the forums addressing the issues and not really apologizing for anything, but merely stating that it's our own expectations and hopes that let us down, and not Blizzard themselves. No ownership whatsoever. I'm pretty sure the game will end up in a good state eventually after a few patches, which they claim will address most of the issues, though probably not the ones that the players are most interested in. But why do we have to have this shit industry standard where you can just release a game in an alpha state because really 30 minutes in a Photoshop and I can make a better background image for the cutscene and even make it a PNG as well? And then what? Oh, we will fix the game and give you the experience you wanted eventually. At this point, it's hard not to feel taken for granted as a consumer, player, and Blizzard fanboy. And for the first time in decades, in my decades-long history of playing Blizzard games, I've requested one of the automated refunds they have enabled for the worst scored game in the history.
Well, it hasn't been a crazy week so far. Well, it has been because of Warcraft 3 Reforged, and we did try as much as possible to stay off of the subject, but it is Warcraft, and we have to think a little bit how this could possibly affect the future of World of Warcraft in some way or capacity.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about, because okay, Warcraft 3 fiasco aside, it is coming from the same company, and it feels like, I mean, it's still under the same big umbrella in terms of management, so it kind of sends the same message, like an unfinished product, but corners being cut and things like that, and it's kind of like,
and deadlines pushed all over the place, plus the fact that, you know, Warcraft 3 Reforged, as the title implies, Reforged, is not a you know, standalone remaster. It's more than that, because that's what they portrayed with the naming Reforged and what they described at BlizzCon, right? It's not any of that, man. It's the same old game. Granted, it has some updated visuals, but that's about it for 30 bucks. So,
and then if you read their public post where it says, well, that's not what our vision for Warcraft Reforged is, you motherfuckers, fucking full of shit.
It's kind of bullshit. It's sad, and again, I hope this doesn't impact the future of WoW, although we have seen shit happen to BFA. Not as much as in the scope of Warcraft 3 Reforged, but hey, let's focus on some more good news here. Did you guys see that Shadowlands appears on Twitch right now? It's a category, man.
Yeah, I've seen it, man. It's exciting. It's like, what? Are we there yet?
I honestly believe that at this point, they really, I mean, the Mythic World First is over, right? So congrats, Lemad! Lemad! Oh! That is over right now. Now guilds are going to progress with Mythic further on, Heroic and all of that. And, you know, basically BFA is over, and I strongly believe they want it to be over, right?
It feels like it's coming at a very odd time where all the negativity towards Warcraft 3 is like, I'm not sure if they're trying to distract us with like, there's Shadowlands still, believe in us, we have something for you. But yeah, they have to learn a lot, like Marcelian said, they have to learn a lot from the BFA beta, and if they release the beta this soon,
Shadowlands beta.
Yeah, the Shadowlands beta, but they have to learn from the BFA beta to go forward towards Shadowlands. Because if it's coming out as we speculated in the fall, September, October, November, somewhere there, the beta is going to be decently long this time. So we have time, ideally, to test it out. I mean, how long was it last time? Like a couple of months.
Yeah, well, it was pretty much the same. If you look at it, the beta, the public beta, at least the one that got to the masses was in May, somewhere May, April, May. So it should follow the same pattern here. The alpha was earlier on, granted, but you have to think about the fact that the time pacing of the patches and with the Legion and then with the BFA announcement, all of that was a bit more earlier on when compared to this year. So I don't know if there's going to be necessarily enough time, like in comparison to that. It's probably going to be in the same time frame, but I don't think that's the issue. They knew they had the feedback for every fucked up thing, and they didn't act on it.
Maybe they just, you know, actually listened to it a little bit too late. Because I mean, clearly they didn't have time to fix it, but they kind of knew, because the Essence system seems to have been in the works way longer than just, you know, 8.2. So I think they should just give us a little bit more credit when we're giving them feedback. I think that's maybe what was the main issue. They didn't think that our feedback was like, they just don't know, they just didn't get to test it yet. Yeah,
because for a long time, the Blizzard, I mean, the WoW team, and I'm not Ian, okay? Ian has a coast, this, okay? He has portrayed this vibe, this personality where, hey man, I know what's better for the players. You guys have ideas, but you're not game devs, right? I'm the game dev. I'm leading the game dev team for World of Warcraft. I know better. And I don't think that's a healthy attitude to have in the long run. Granted, BFA sucked in the majority of cases. You had a lot of outrage, you had a lot of people leaving, a lot of people coming back also when they did listen to the community.
Surprise.
So, learn your goddamn lesson, Ian. You know we love you. You know, you're a great encounter designer, great raid designer. You know, we have much respect for that. But man, BFA was your baby project, man. It's I don't know, it's telling us something. Either you listen to folks like us and folks that are typing right now in the comments, or get the fuck out. That's it. Go back to raid designing. It's done. It's over.
He doesn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah. That being said, we do have a lot of friends in our Patreon team.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for all the support that they're giving us, man. You guys are with us every month, every step of the way, and the fact that you believe in our content makes us, you know, gives us the little push in the morning to pump some new stuff for you guys. So thank you so much. And if you're interested in, you know, supporting us a little bit more and finding out what little goodies we have, and so you can check the links down below. We have even a merch link for Teespring with like Marcelian design logos and stuff.
Thank you so much for watching the video for today's or this week's on cooldown. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, throw us a like on that button. You know that's always helpful. And with that, we wish you a great weekend ahead.
Peace.
Bye-bye.